Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Krishna Bhakti Gope Shikopika Bhakta Bhakta Namostate Dr. Kancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnadana Sute Dehi Pranamami Hari Priye Anshapadaru Krishna Viphasu Devacha Dikhanam Bhavebhyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Continuing reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We're on chapter 1. Text number. Probably done. That was the last one for the class.
Text number 1, chapter 1.
We're on text 12. Okay, we'll start text 12. Tasya sanjanayam harsham guru rida pitama Svinhanadam vinadyochai shankam damam pratapava. When Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly like the sound of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. 13. Tatashankasya beyascha panavana kagomukaha sahasaivabhya hayanta sashabdastam mudobhavat. After that, the conch shells, bugles, trumpets, drums, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Text 14. Tata Shaitar Hayar Yukte Mahati Shandane Stita Madhava Bandhava Shaiva Divya Shankha Pradad Matahu. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Text 15. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pandram Dhanma Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha. The Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pandram. Text 16 and 18. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Sukosha Manipushpako Kashyascha Parameshvasa Shikhandi Cha Maharataha Trishtityumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha Drupato Draupadeyascha Sarvascha Prithvipate Sopadrascha Mahabahu Shankantanu Pritak Pritak. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijay, and Nakula and Sahadev blew the Sughosh and Manipushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighters Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, and the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, and the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the son of Subhadra, greatly armed, all blew their respective conch shells. Text 19. Sagosho tartarashtranam hridayani vyatarayat napascha prativim chaiva tumalopyanuna adayan. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, and thus vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Text 20. Athavyasthitan drishta tartarashtran kapidvajaha pravrite shastra sampate tanor udyamya pandavaha rishikesham tadabakyam idam aha mahipate. O king, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with a Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows, looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra. O king, Arjuna then spoke to Hrishikesh, Krishna, these words. Text 21 and 22. Arjuna vacha senayar upayar madhye ratham stapaya mechita yavadetan riksheham yotu kaman avastitan karmaya sahayodhavyam asmin rana samudyame. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. So we'll go to text 12. I'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly like the sound of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Purport. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion, indirectly by the symbolism of the conch shell. He informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle, because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. Maharaj, if you'd like to speak some words, we would love to hear.
Bhishma is not exactly like Duryodhana, even though they're on the same side, fighting against Krishna. It was different. Duryodhana wanted the kingdom for his own sense gratification. Bhishma Dev did not want the kingdom for himself. He actually wanted the kingdom for Yudhishthira Maharaj, but somehow or other, through intrigues and trickery and fate, he ended up on that side where he had to fight for Duryodhana, because Duryodhana was, at that time, he was the leader of the dynasty, because Yudhishthira, he was the leader of the dynasty previous. He performed the Rajasuya sacrifice when they were living at Indraprastha. Their opulence was so great and their influence was so great, the Pandavas, that all the people wanted to come and live with them. Everyone was coming and living. They wanted to be under the guidance of Yudhishthira. But then, through, again, the trickery of Shakuni, Uncle Shakuni, they cheated them out of their whole kingdom by throwing dice. What kind of Kshatriya would accept a kingdom won by cheating dice with your uncle? Didn't even throw the dice himself. So he and his uncle always made it seem as though it was Yudhishthira was the one who was instigating this. But actually, Yudhishthira did not want to play dice with his relatives. Anyway, he would never accept the kingdom like that. And Krishna wasn't there because when the dice match took place, he had to go back to Dwarka because Shalva was attacking the city of Dwarka. And even though there were some great warriors there, Krishna's sons and things, Praduna was getting defeated by Shalva. So Krishna had to go and save the day, Dwarka. So therefore he wasn't there during the gambling match, otherwise he wouldn't have it. So now that they've been exiled, so not only were they not in the throne anymore, Yudhishthira was removed from the throne, he lost everything in the gambling match. He lost all of his soldiers, he lost his brothers, he lost his wealth, even lost his wife in a sense. So they went for 12 years in the forest. And the 13th year, they had to stay incognito. They did that. They passed that. Now, had Duryodhana been fair-minded, then he would have, because the arrangement was that they would go into the forest, and then afterwards they would resume back, where they would have each one would have half the kingdom, because that was the arrangement. But then Yudhishthira was so glorious that everyone wanted him to be. And he performed the Rajasuya. And whoever performs the Rajasuya sacrifice becomes the emperor of the world. So that meant that Duryodhana was going to have to live with Yudhishthira being emperor of the world. He couldn't do it. He told his father, I'll kill myself. I won't be able to do it. Either I kill them or I'll kill myself. I can't live under Yudhishthira. That was his ultimatum. So now the Pandavas lost the kingdom. Even though it was unfair and cheating and so everything. But see, Bhishma, he had made his promise he would always defend the throne, the Kuru throne, against any opponents. So now, of course, it was a very difficult case. How do you say this? It's all one dynasty fighting within each other. But technically, one could say that Duryodhana or Dhritarashtra, they were ruling during that period. And when Yudhishthira and the Pandavas came back, asking for their property back, they weren't given it. That wasn't very nice. But still, Bhishma did not want to take the Pandavas' side because of that. He felt that he was still obliged to support the throne. Even though he knew, everyone knew, that there's no comparison between Duryodhana's and Yudhishthira in terms of virtue or qualities, good qualities, no question. And they knew that Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra were planning, tried to kill him in the house of lacquer. So many things. They had wife insulted, everything. So that's why Bhishma is in this dilemma, in a sense. It's a great dilemma for him because actually he wanted the other side to win. And he knew they would win. Even if he didn't want them to win, he knew that Krishna was on the other side. He knew very well that Krishna couldn't be defeated. And therefore, but he wasn't a coward either. He wasn't afraid to fight. And he knew that even if he thought to his greatest skill that Krishna would defeat him. So that's what he's saying here. He had to please Duryodhana because he had taken that side. If a person like Bhishma first takes the side of Duryodhana and changes, and he's been maintained by that dynasty for a long time on a very high scale of opulence. How does it look? He took all the money he lives at the cost of the dynasty for so long. And now when there's a big fight, you go to the other side. What is that? He did not want to do that. So therefore he fought. You could say it was against his will or not voluntarily. He didn't like the idea. He tried to convince Duryodhana he was doing the wrong thing again and again. But still couldn't do it. So that's why he's going through this. He made the promise that he would not get married and he would not have any children and he would not take the throne. Even though his father, Shantanu, was the emperor, and then when he left, he should have gone to Bhishma, but because he wanted to secure Satyavati, the daughter of the fisherman, for his father, who lost Ganga, that's Bhishma's mother, goddess Ganga. So she went back to the heavenly planets because he asked her what she was doing. That was the arrangement. So that's the story behind Bhishma, because it's often comes, why did Bhishma fight on that side? He was implicated in all these different intrigues. And that's part of it. Now, of course, Krishna has his part to play also. Krishna wanted to show that no matter who fights against his devotee, if Krishna takes his side, he'll win. But he's showing that he's a great soul, like Drona's a great soul. He had trained some of the warriors on the other side who he knew were born to kill him. much as just the one who's designing all the vyuhas, all the military phalanxes. He was trained by Drona, and Drona's on the other side. And but he didn't think twice about training him. So they were a very high caliber of person. Even if they were, and there was a story of Shalya, not Shalva, but Shalya, who was on his way to join Yudhishthira's army, because he knew the fight was coming. And he was inclined to Yudhishthira. He was on the way, and Duryodhana tricked him into making a statement that whoever's been giving me these nice arrangements, I'll fight. I'll give him a boon whatever he wants. And it was Duryodhana, and he said, yes, I want you to fight on my side. So because he had made that promise, he kept it. He fought on that side against Krishna, even though he didn't want to fight against Krishna. But they're all very high character, his personalities. So Bhishma's making it sound like a lion, but the lions of this material world is not transcendental. So when Krishna and Arjuna blew their conch shells, it was transcendental. I mean, so it is supernatural, it was beyond anything.
After that, the conch shells, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Verse 14. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Purport. In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side, because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Chayas tu Pandu putranam yesham pakshe janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu, because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there, because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune are awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both of the friends were seated was donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna. And this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides, wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Verse 15. Then Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya, Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pandram. Lord Krishna, purport, Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesh in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity, and in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesh. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudev because he accepted Devaki as his mother. Because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki, son of his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Parthasarathi because he worked as a charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesh because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brothers. He helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Rikodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shells blown by the different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there was no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Director, nor that of the Goddess of Fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada's pointing out something very nice, how the Lord has many different names. So the Lord has infinite names, and there's often attributed different names according to the certain characteristics he's exhibiting in a certain time. And Prabhupada was mentioning, Yashoda Nandana, meaning he's the son of Yashoda, or the son of Devaki, or Vasudev, because he's the son of Vasudev. This is very significant because Krishna actually takes more pleasure of being connected to his devotees in that way than just by being the God Almighty by himself. So these different relationships that he has with his devotees are highlighting more and more of his personality, of how he's dealing with all of them, and it's a source of pleasure. So many bhajans we sing are just filled with the Lord's different names, and referring to different of his pastimes and different features that he chose to manifest. And by doing that, it helps us remember the Lord and his different transcendental pastimes. In this way, we can derive pleasure from that also. But we sing for the Lord's pleasure, and naturally when you're acting in service of the Lord, then the soul becomes satisfied. So it's very nice point of all these different names. But we could see on this chapter 1 the setting of the scenes of this battle. Maharaj spoke so nicely about some of these different points about Bhishma blowing his conch shell, which is like a lion, but then here, the Lord's conch shell being called transcendental, and this is what it's all about, rising above the material energy and becoming transcendental. So, I'll keep reading. I'll read the next text. Maybe we'll just read through them all. If anybody has any points of discussion or anything at any time, we could feel free. Okay, King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijay, and Nakula and Sahadev blew the Sugosha and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, and unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the son of Subhadra, greatly armed, all blew their respective conch shells. Purport. Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle, beginning with the grandsire Bhishma down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others. including kings from many states of the world. All were present there, and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. 19. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, and thus vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Purport. When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Text 20. O king, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. Looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra, O king, Arjuna then spoke to Rishikesha, Krishna, these words. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military forces by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Ram himself, and whoever Lord Ram is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee lay the signs of assured victory. So a lot of times people pick up the Bhagavad Gita and they skip to chapter 2 because chapter 2 is really what starts to open up the philosophy of the whole premise of the Bhagavad Gita, understanding that you're a soul and you're not your body. You're a soul, you're not your body. Sometimes we say, I have a soul, but you can't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body. Can we close that? Sorry, there's distractions. Yeah, so this chapter 1 is called Vishada Yoga. Actually, it's like the yoga of suffering, because Arjuna, after this portion we just read, he starts to become bewildered, because on this last text he says, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present here. So he asked Krishna to take him up to the front lines of the battlefield, and then at that front lines he can clearly see who he's getting ready to fight, and he sees his grandfather, his guru, his cousins, his family members. So everybody he knows is going to get killed one way or another. And because he's a kshatriya and he's expected to fight, to do his duty, he's being asked to kill his grandfather and his guru, his teacher in the military arts. So Arjuna is in a very pitiable condition because he can't understand what is proper and what is improper. So this is his suffering, his lamentation, and a big point is that he embraces that to one extent, where he faces that and then he turns to Krishna and asks for help. So there's a certain term that I've heard that's nice. It's spiritual bypassing. A lot of times we hear some spiritual philosophy and wisdom and we want to apply it to our life, but kind of skip over a lot of the pain or our habits and addictions that we've accumulated in the material world. But Arjuna's setting the tone for the Bhagavad Gita of how to approach Krishna, how to hear. So first he expresses all of his doubts, his concerns, and he comes face to face with it, and then he fully turns to Krishna for help. So in a similar way, And I often make the point that we can't lie to Krishna, we can only lie to ourselves. So we might as well be real with Krishna in our approach to him, and pray to him fervently for help with all of our struggles that we may be facing. Because Krishna is all-knowing. He knows all the struggles we face, and he knows how we got into those situations. We don't even know how we got into a lot of the situations we're in. We just know that we're stuck. This is samsara. We're going round and round and round and round, and we can't see the bigger scope of that cycle. So we just see a very small slice of it, and we get lost in it. Lost in that maze, until we're fortunate to be having our eyes opened by this torchlighted knowledge brought by Sri Guru. And if one is steadfast, in the determination to approach that path that the Guru is presenting, then one can make immense progress very rapidly. And very quickly you can look back on your past and see how you've grown so much. I've heard a good way to test, how spiritually advanced we are is how much do we desire the material energy. Do we see something that is materially provocative, and do we start lusting? Do we, just hanker after it? Prabhupada one time gave a good example that I always liked, that, imagine I'm a shopkeeper. Well, here they don't have shops on the streets, but like India, other places, they have fruit vendors and everybody just on the streets. And there's cows that come wandering around, or monkeys, and they don't know that this is a person's, food, that it requires money to buy it. So the cow just walks right up to the table and starts eating it. But they have to, get a stick and make him go away. But then the cow will come right back and do it again. But a person, no matter how hungry they are, they won't go up and just start eating off the table, because they know that this is not mine, that's not right. So it's that tendency right there, that's the human aspect, that's what separates us from the animals. We have that ability to control our mind, control our senses, control our actions. So the more regulated, more controlled we can be, then the less animal-like we are, operating on just these base tendencies of I see this, I want that, I smell that, I gotta have it. So we have to get away from these tendencies of just sense gratification. So there's Shreyas and Preyas, which is immediate vision versus long-term course of action. And we should shift our attention to this Shreyas, which means long-term vision. So sometimes, devotional service is tough for whatever reason, and we want just an escape, we want to enjoy, we want to, we dream about our past life that we used to live and the things we used to do for comfort. But we have knowledge now, and we know that these things actually won't bring happiness. But we don't have a taste for doing devotional service, of chanting, doing the strict program, reading and studying. So then what do? We always have to maintain this vision, this Shreyas, of seeing that this is actually beneficial for me. Immediately, although sometimes it might not be so palatable, but it's definitely rewarding if I do it for a long term, to the highest standard that I can possibly do. And how can we know this? We can see others that have traversed that path. And here Arjuna, in this first chapter, we'll be reading in the next few nights, is going to express his doubts, his concerns, his frustrations to Krishna of why he shouldn't fight, why he can't do his duty. And I don't know about you all, but I know I've been in situations in my life where I felt I don't want to do my duty. I just want to do this, I want to do that. I just want to enjoy. So then Arjuna On the contrary, to myself, he surrendered to Krishna and took instruction from Krishna. Then by taking that instruction from Krishna, then he's brought up to the transcendental platform. And Arjuna is actually a pure devotee, and he's just enacting a pastime of being bewildered like this for our benefit, so we can have access to this knowledge and see what is the proper way to approach this knowledge and questioning and behavior, and most importantly, this becoming a disciple. So there's no meaning to the word disciple without discipline. So then we hear the words often, guru, disciple. So what is the discipline? The discipline is, I'm disciplining myself to follow the instructions of the guru. So in this guru-disciple relationship, that's where all the potency comes from. Just following the instructions, trying to please the guru. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many pastimes that are showing how that if one is worshipping the guru very nicely, then they're given certain shakti or certain energy or certain benedictions, and by committing offenses in this, then one falls, one loses their good merit, their good standing. So we always have to be diligent in our consciousness, because with familiarity breeds contempt. You do something over and over and over and over, it doesn't seem, as special. But as you first come, and I remember first coming to the temple and seeing the deities, and it was like, a whole new world, a whole new experience. I don't know what to do, but it's like, okay, they say bow down, okay, and I offer these prayers. But then, you practice longer and longer and longer, you become very familiar, and in that familiarity, it's very easy to commit offenses, because you become relaxed, thinking that, it's not a big deal. And these offenses are actually what cover over our eyes from being able to see more and more of this spiritual reality, at all times. Seeing Krishna with us at all times. So, offenses will be there, but we have to take shelter of the holy names especially. Because if we fully take shelter of the holy names, then a lot of the offenses that we commit, unknowingly, they become absolved. But if we're not taking shelter of the holy name and just kind of loafing around, then all the unknowing offenses that we inevitably commit, they stick. They, like I said, they cover over our eyes, making it harder and harder to see, harder to practice, harder to get a taste. So, Arjuna approaches Krishna in this humble and submissive mood, and we always have to cultivate this humble and submissive mood, because it's the nature of a conditioned soul to be prideful, arrogant. So, this is something to always be checked. And to really put, the relationship of guru there. This is a big way to check pride of becoming submissive to somebody else's will. But from the material point, it says, I would never want to surrender somebody. I don't want to give up my freedom. But from a higher sense, this person is only going to give instructions that are for our benefit, that will free us from the sticky situation that we've got ourselves in. So we're afraid to give up our independence or free will, which we can actually never give up. But when we do approach that, then there's so many blessings, so much mercy, so much instructions that help us be free from all the disastrous things that affect our mind all the time. So it's very important. Okay, it's 8:16. I don't know if anybody has any questions or thoughts or comments. If not, I'll just read the last text real quick. Yeah, you have something? Last minute there.
Hare Krishna. I just want to know about offenses, and I mean, we don't. It's not. I mean, they're probably stated somewhere.
Yes.
Very clearly.
The nectar of devotion.
Yeah. Is that where all of the offenses are, or are there still offenses that are that happen and that we should try to avoid, but they're not written in a book or something? And what do we do to stay clear? I mean, I hear that we can just continue to chant.
So if we're, like I mentioned, if we're taking shelter of the holy name and we're trying our best to remember Krishna through his holy name, throughout the whole day, then generally a lot of the offenses we commit unknowingly don't have so much potency, because Krishna is protecting us with his holy name. But if I'm deliberately committing offenses, that's a little different, because with more knowledge comes more responsibility. It's actually said, in the Bhagavatam, that a devotee will be punished for sinful behavior more than a non-devotee, ignorant person. The atheist, demonic person will be punished the most. But the point is, with knowledge comes a certain level of responsibility, but if we don't have that knowledge of what's right, what's wrong, how to act, how not to act, if we just go on taking shelter of the holy name, then Krishna is there to protect us. But on top of that, fortunately for us, we're worshipping Sri Sri Gauranatai every day, who is extremely merciful. There's many stories of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes of them going out into the streets to distribute mercy, to everybody else, love of God, inconsiderate of, their caste, their creed, of, how advanced they are. So everybody gets the mercy. So Lord Chaitanya is very merciful and tolerant, and not, wanting to chastise us for every little mistake we make, so don't worry. But as we become more familiar, then there's more, etiquette, more behavior to observe. But in the Nectar of Devotion, it describes a list of everything that you would need to know. But out of all this list, you could say the most important is the 10 offenses against the holy name, because that's our saving grace. There's a verse in one of the scriptures that says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, Kala Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatyanyata. That the only means for deliverance in this degraded age of Kali is chanting the holy names. There's no other way, no other way, no other way. So if we really take shelter of that and try to rid ourselves of the 10 offenses to the holy name and pray to Krishna to be merciful to us, then a lot of these things, we'll learn in due course of time. It's not like we have to worry that, I'm committing this offense or that offense. But when we learn them, then it's something we can add into our repertoire and try to cultivate and come to a higher standard. But you can find that in the Nectar of Devotion. So, thank you for your question. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sri Sri Gauranatai Ki Jai, Manchakapatarubhyas Cha Kripasinibheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.